Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, folks, the New York Mets do it once again, beating those fighting Phils. Excuse me, those crying Phils. The New York Mets walking off those crying Phils 6-5 today on the backs of very strong performances. Brandon Nimmo, clutch single off of one of the best closers in baseball. But we had a lot of excitement in these past couple of days. The New York Mets winning their ninth game in a row over the Phillies at Citi Field. Is that true? It is. It is. I mean, folks, the New York Mets are so in the heads of the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not even funny. It is not even funny. Before we get into that, hit that like button. If you'd not yet subscribe, join the family. We'd love you to have fun with us. But you know what? Before we get into some details, again, the New York Mets are, I'm telling you, inside the heads of those Phillies. You just really can't make it up. Yesterday, Alec Boehm, he knows he's been struggling. He knows the team has been struggling at Citi Field. I know. There's a parabolic mic out there, over there and over there. I won't hit until those mics are down. So you made a big hoopla. You made a scene. The fans were confused. Everybody was confused. So we'll take the mics down for you, Mrs. Bohm. We took those mics down. Didn't help him out at all. Didn't win yesterday. Didn't win today. Okay, that's fine. Your pitcher, Christopher Sanchez, that's your ace now. The guy's never given up more than 4 runs in a game, I guess since May, but the Mets take him for 6. Christopher Sanchez goes into the dugout and he literally assaults a garbage can. I mean, it's not like these players are just walking off and, being professional. They are taking these losses pretty hard. They are taking these losses pretty hard. I have my theory on that, but let's proceed. Now today, and I'm telling you, this was the most egregious, and I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. You have Jesus Luzardo on the mound, and the game virtually just started. In fact, there's one out. Luzardo already got an out. Juan Soto calls a timeout, and I think Luzardo felt that he didn't say timeout in time enough, and he throws a pitch, and the ump's like, timeout. The pitch doesn't count. And the guy flips out. He didn't even throw a strike. Luzardo threw a ball, so technically it benefited him that that ball didn't even count. But I regress. Luzardo acting like that early on in the game is just, number one, uncalled for. But number two, just dumb, just plain dumb. He walked off aggressively, intimidating the ump. That never helps. There was a couple strikes. I mean, balls. They were called balls in that count. That probably if he didn't do that, he probably would have struck Soto out. But foolish. Again, showing that these New York Mets are in the heads of those Phillies. This is why I'm super adamant and confident that the New York Mets can overtake the Phillies. Hey, you take tomorrow's game, the New York Mets are 4 games behind the Phillies. That is not too bad. In 30 games, you know what? That is very, very doable. All right, so let's see here. How did this game start off? Well, there wasn't much scoring early on, so you give Sean Manaea, some credit for looking better this game. Not great, still making the bullpen work much harder than they should. But here's how it started. Early on, 5th inning, Bryce Harper, very, very good hit, had bases loaded, literally lines a ball over the shortstop, making Philly up 2-0. And this is a point in the game where Mendoza chose to take out Manaea and insert the lefty Gregory Soto. Didn't work out. Soto surrendered that hit, but people ask, hey, why don't you let Manaea try to end that inning? But Manaea hasn't earned that right yet. Manaea needs a couple more performances where he extends himself into the game and he proves that he can face the order second and third time around without surrendering a 400 average and without being pummeled. So we'll see in the future. But right now, that was the only move that I believe Mendoza could have made in terms of taking out Manaea. All right, so the Mets, they're down 2-0. And this is when the Mets go to work, and they literally exploded in the fifth inning. Exploded. You had Soto RBI single, Alonso a two-run double, and that double that Alonso hit that went to the left center field warning track, it looks like it jammed Alonso. I'm like, it didn't look like it was going to go nearly as far as the wall. He hits it like 380 feet away. So it just shows you how strong Alonso is. Vientos had an RBI single, Nimmo had a sac fly, and the Mets would have 5 runs in the fifth. Suddenly, the Mets are winning 5-2, and this becomes another bullpen game. Well, the Phillies, the fighting Phils, the crying Phils, tried to fight back. They tried to claw back. Monday Sosa, he had an RBI hit in the 6th inning. That made it 5-3. Then we had the controversial play in the 8th. Well, controversial, I'll just say, based on the decision where you have Mendoza putting Helsley in the game against a division rival when you're up by 2, and when Helsley pitched the day before. So a lot of us, like me, I'm like, oh, what the hell? I just don't get it. In the last 8 performances, you only have 1 performance from Helsley where he didn't give up a run. So he has not earned the right to pitch in a game of this magnitude when it is that close. So it was a very silly decision. In that 8th inning, you would have Helsley walk a batter, then give up a 2-run homer to Bader, and then, just on good measure, walk the next batter. So, of course, you had Carlos Mendoza. Gotta really take things seriously. Brings in Edwin Diaz, and Edwin Diaz not only shut the door, he slammed it, he locked it, and had 4 Ks, and it was just, he went through that lineup like butter. So you give Diaz all the credit in the world, and that set the scene for the Mets to dominate in the bottom of the 9th, facing a very good closer, and Johan Duran. And this guy's throwing 102, nasty splitter, but the Mets didn't give a crap. Marte, first guy up, rips a nice hard hit line drive, a little off the ground. You could say grounder, but very solid contact. Alonso comes up, same thing. Everybody was aggressive, swinging early in the count. So you got first and second, then you have a nice bloop, very nice, finely placed hit by Brett Beatty. That loads the bases. No outs. Brandon Nimmo comes up, and Brandon Nimmo, he gets a good piece of it. Sharp line drive to left center field. Mets win. Oh, the Mets win. 6-5. Great performance. Johan Duran, after the game, he basically said, the Mets got lucky. The Mets got lucky. Just like Bryce Harper the night before, he claimed the only reason why the Mets beat the Phillies was because Christopher Sanchez must have been tipping his pitches. Folks, you just can't make it up how mental these Mets are in the heads of the Phillies. Even the Philly fans, oh my God, the Mets stink. We can't lose to the Mets. You guys have won literally nothing in in the lifetime of the Phillies. You talk like you guys are the Yankees. You guys aren't that great. You're older. You want me to say you're older? Okay, maybe that's the only thing you are. You're older. But, at the end of the day, the New York Mets are proving they are a team to reckon with. They are getting better. They have reinforcements. And again, same formula as last year. You're trying to have the team as good as possible for the postseason. Now, why did the Mets win? Clutch hitting, folks. Clutch hitting. Just like yesterday. Today, 4 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Philly, 2 for 10. 2 for 10. Not good. Pete Alonso went a perfect 4 for 4, and he had the big 2-run double, and that really flipped the game on its side. And of course, as I mentioned, the battle was night and day. Edwin Diaz, 1.2 innings, 4 Ks, pure dominance. Ryan Helsley, on the other hand, 10.38 ERA in August, 4 blown saves, and he gave up the tying homer. So, I mean, there's a tale of two worlds with those two guys. And then, the controversy. I mean, just to sum it up, there was no shortage of drama these last 2 days. Luzardo tossed in the first, I'm sorry, tossed, yeah, not, he should have been tossed in the first inning, but tossed in the fifth inning, made his big crappy hoopla in the first inning. But that set the tone in such a negative way for those fighting Phils. So hopefully Rob Thompson gave this guy a talking to, or maybe not. Hopefully not. Maybe not, because that probably helped the New York Mets. You have the mental edge. You're winning half the battle. Okay, so Soto's late timeout is what drove Luzardo crazy. Great job, Juan Soto, playing mind games. Alec Bohm, all right, the parabolic mics were down today. He should have had a crazy day, but all right, he didn't. Christopher Sanchez, keep the garbage cans away from Sanchez. Keep the garbage cans away. And what do we think? Did Mendoza manage this perfectly by going to Diaz when he did? Or should he have gone earlier? If it was that big of a game, should he have just skipped Helsley and gone to Diaz in the eighth? It was a 2-run game, so, it was a 2-run game. I know there were other options, but, it's. I think right now there's a lot of, okay, you could do this, you could do that, but if the Mets lost, there would have been like, you should have went to Diaz first, you should have did this first. But it's a question for another game. So what is the big picture? What is the Mets' big picture? This just wasn't one win, folks. This means way more than that. Again, this is about keeping that momentum going. You won now 7 out of your last 10. You are building towards the playoff. You're 3.5 games ahead of the Cincinnati Reds for the wild card. 5 games behind the Phillies. 5 games. So the wild card race looks much clearer. And the Reds still have one more game left with the Dodgers, and they have the tough schedule coming up. I went through it ad nauseum. They play the Blue Jays, they play the Padres, they play the Cubs, they play the Mets. The Reds have a killer schedule, folks. A killer schedule. And with the Mets offense on fire, scoring 99 runs in the last 14 games, 7.1, that equates to 7.1 runs a game. That is the best in all of baseball, folks. The best in all of baseball. So let's call it what it is. The Mets absolutely have Philly's number, and they are getting very, very hot. And it only gets scarier, folks, because you got Nolan McLean tomorrow, and you have Jonah Tong on Friday. The strikeout phenom, the strikeout king, whatever you want to call him. The kid is nasty. The kid already has been embarrassing the minor league hitters for the past 2 years. Now it's time to start embarrassing some Marlins on Friday and some major leaguers in the future. Okay. And again, Nolan McLean proved that he is a problem for MOB hitters. I firmly believe Jonah Tong will prove exactly the same, that he will be a problem. Okay, I'm just super, super excited. If you haven't got a chance to hit that like button or subscribe, folks, another great chance, another opportunity. Again, we love you to join the Dominant Mets Nation family. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, thank you in advance, and always drop your comments. I love reading those comments. All right, so let's see. Fans, we love the fans. If it was your opinion, who gets the game ball tonight? Alonso for the perfect night? Or would you give it to Nimmo for the walk-off? And he also had a sac fly, so Nimmo had multiple RBIs. But again, that's a very big position. And I did like the way the lineup flowed today. I mean, look at the last 2 games. The lineup has been clicking, and, this lineup had to be extremely special. It was only the 3rd time this season where Mendoza went to the same lineup 2 consecutive nights. I mean, think about that. A lot of people have been complaining about the lineup inconsistency. Well, maybe they might be a little more consistent if you have the same lineup more than 2 nights in a row. Just an idea. Nothing crazy. Okay, and again, the Mets, do you believe the Mets are starting to own the Phillies? Because I'm starting to do that. And I also think the mental edge is just jumping through the TV screen, jumping off of the field if you're at Citi Field. It's just so apparent. The Philly players can't control themselves. It's like they're in an argument with a spouse or argument with a family member. It's just that they cannot control their emotions. And again, with Jonah Tong on the way, do the Mets rotation depth? Does that make them serious playoff contenders? I mean, World Series contenders. And I think what Jonah Tong does is it gives them more options, more flexibility. Now, you put McGill in the bullpen. You want to put Manaea in the bullpen, Kodai Senga. You don't have to rely firmly on Manaea or Senga. And that was the thing. That was the thing. Okay. Again, drop your thoughts down below. Drop your thoughts down below. Now, for closing, the Phillies fought, no doubt. They battled, but in the end, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The Mets showed resilience. They did. They were up. They got punched first. They got punched first in the top of the fifth. Then they fought back. Then they took the lead 5-2. You had the Phillies score 1 in the 6th. And then again, the Mets were resilient because they took a huge blow in the 8th. If this was 3 weeks ago, I could have 100% seen the Phillies taking the lead or winning that game. But not no more. The New York Mets are doing much better and fighting in a big way. They showed resilience. Diaz shut the door. Alonso stayed scorching hot. And Nimmo sent the fans home happy. Whoo. And the scoreboard doesn't lie. Mets 6, Phillies 5. Another night, another reminder right now that Citi Field belongs to our New York Mets. All right, folks, let me know again what you think. I really appreciate all your great comments. And again, like and subscribe. Let's go Mets. Let's go